and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, for a full Barça news roundup. And we do have enormous topics to discuss in today's video, big names indeed. We're going to be talking about Hansi Flink, the latest right now on him. We're going to be talking about Kimmich, what is happening there, and we are also going to be discussing Erling Haaland. Could he actually join Barça in 2026? We have to discuss all of the rumours that we're hearing, some big ones. Let's do this. Because today I do have to give a special shout out here to Max, who is becoming a regular, very much so, on these super thanks. Really appreciate that. And another great name, by the way, of course, after Max Verstappen. Absolutely fantastic. And also a big thanks here today to Edwin, who really liked the idea of live streams. I know that many of you guys did, and I am currently thinking more about that. Although we won't ever mention Mark Goldbridge again on this channel. Let's just make that a little bit of an unwritten rule. But thank you indeed, guys, for all of the incredible support right now. But let's start here with Hansi Flink, because there's lots of Barca fans right now who are wondering what is happening. Are there any developments behind the scenes? You know, what are Barca doing in terms of that coaching position ahead of the summer? And somebody here on the super thanks, Alfonso, really wants to see Flink at Barca in terms there of overhauling the medical staff, Flink being a real motivator in the dressing room and helping there to get the absolute best out the squad. And I think many of us would agree there with Alfonso, but are there any moves between the two of them? Because right now, we know Flink wants to come to Barca, and every day that goes by, he is still sitting, he is still waiting, he is still wanting that call to come, because he's been preparing for it. He is doing lots behind the scenes there to be the best placed man to take over at Barca, but right now, I think, he is starting maybe to get a little bit impatient, because he has tasked there his agent, Xavi, with ultimately finding out what Barca's intentions are, finding out what the feeling is right now at the club, because I think if he doesn't receive a concrete offer soon, or some indication that it might be him, that Barca are at least looking into the option of him, then he might start to look at the Premier League. Apparently there's big interest from Chelsea, from Liverpool, from Manchester United in Hansi Flink, and if Barca don't really make any approach, well, it's natural that he would look elsewhere. And apparently now, though, there will be a meeting soon between Xavi and Joan Laporta at the club. And in that meeting, again, Flink will be the major topic to be discussed. And I think in that meeting there, things are going to become a whole lot clearer on both sides there. Flink, I feel, will know more after that meeting, where he stands, what Barca's plans are. Because from his point of view there, you hear Joan Laporta coming out just a few days ago now saying, ultimately, we still want Xavi to stay. We still want him to be at the club. I'm still trying to convince him behind the scenes, even if we don't know if Xavi will change his mind. So if you're Flink there, hearing Laporta say that, you're probably starting to think, well, they really don't want me then. You know, I'm not going to be needed at Barca. They're not actively looking at anybody else right now. So there's lots of coaches there that may be looking at Barca, maybe thinking about Barca, but whilst we are still pinning all of our hopes on Xavi, at least publicly, then they may start to look elsewhere. And I think here, as the season goes on, we are going to need a final decision there. You know, if Laporta really wants Xavi to change his mind, if he's still pinning his hopes on that happening, you know, you don't want to leave it till the last minute. You don't want to come to the end of the season there still hoping that Xavi can stay, only for Xavi to turn around and say, look, I've told you my decision. I've told you I'm leaving. I want a break. And then you might be scrambling around trying to find something. The top coaches may have gone elsewhere. So we still will need to plan ahead when it comes to this next big decision. But speaking indeed of planning ahead right now, I also do want to talk about lots of reports we've been hearing today on Kimmich, because as we know, Bayern this summer are reportedly open to selling him. That is a big story there, that they are open there to offers for Kimmich. They would let him go this summer. He would, of course, be entering the final year of his contract, which runs there at Bayern until 2025. And the word right now, because we were wondering how much would they be wanting for Kimmich, how much there would they be asking for. Right now in the media, apparently, it's around 60 million euros. And I think that there, it is a steep price, you know, especially given he has only 1 year left on that contract there. Bayern not exactly in a strong position when it comes to negotiating here with Kimmich. And what the word is right now is that Barca could not afford that this summer. In terms there of buying Kimmich, that is not really going to be an option for us. And apparently Kimmich is well aware of that right now. And it is being said that the only way really that we could see him joining up with Barca at this stage is actually not this summer, but in 2025. If he was to let that Bayern deal run down to expire and then he became a free agent, well then Barca would be all over that situation. So I think right now what's going to be interesting is what happens this summer, because we know there are several other clubs that Kimmich would be open to going to. There's Premier League clubs there. There's teams, of course, like Real Madrid as well, if they were to make an approach. But obviously, if the offer doesn't really come in, or a good one doesn't come in from any of those clubs, well, we may go until 2025. Kimmich may let that deal run down, and I think then he would still only be 30 years old at that point. He could be a very attractive option on a free transfer, but we would have competition. And there is also no ruling out, by the way, that if nothing really materialised this summer, would Kimmich consider staying at Bayern? Would he sign an extension there, get a new deal at the club? All of these options are still on the table, but 60 million. Barca will not pay that, cannot pay that this summer, and they are now looking, maybe, to Kimmich on a free in 2025. However, guys, on the topic there of potential signings, we now move from 2025 to 2026. We are looking quite far ahead at this point, but there have been massive rumours in the media surrounding Erling Haaland and Barcelona. Now let's go over first of all the details that we've heard in these numerous reports, by the way. There's been lots of different sources talking about it in the media, and once we've gone over what's been said, well then we'll talk about the likelihood, then we'll talk about the viability of all of this actually happening. Because according to multiple sources right now, Joan Laporta, once again, not for the first time, is dreaming of Erling Haaland and to sign him in 2026. And here are the key points right now behind Laporta's pursuit of Haaland. Number one, it's just convenient there that in 2026, it's election year. Joan Laporta will stand again for the Barcelona presidency. He will have, of course, competition from elsewhere, and his statement signing, his campaign, may indeed be based around the potential signing of Erling Haaland. Now, that does not necessarily mean that it will definitely happen, but Laporta is putting Haaland there right now as a potential signing in 2026. The second important point is it will also be the year in which the new Camp Nou is fully open. And I mean there to maximum capacity with all of the renovations done. 2026 is the big unveiling for our brand new stadium. And Laporta, naturally, wants a big star to go with that. The unveiling of the full capacity of the new stadium. He wants Haaland there to be the key figure when all of that opens back up. And the other thing to bear in mind right now is that Laporta recently met with Pimienta, who is Haaland's agent. He had a long meeting there, many hours. We spoke about it on the channel several weeks ago, and apparently in that meeting Haaland was discussed, Barca was discussed there, and the meeting apparently went very well. And also because Haaland apparently told Barca when he was leaving Dortmund, when Laporta first returned as the Barca president, that he would have joined then. He was apparently happy, he was willing to join the club, but we were not able to afford it back then in terms of the wages, in terms of the transfer fee, in terms of the restrictions that we have here in La Liga. We couldn't pull the deal off, but Haaland apparently was willing to come. And the most important point of all of this is that apparently in 2026, Barca will be able to afford the deal. That, of course, is 2 years down the line, 2 more years there of financial and economic recovery. Barca believe they will be in a position to sign Erling Haaland. So that is what we've heard. Those are the reports there. Those are, by the way, the hypotheticals. Because quite honestly, it's easy to say, oh, well, everything will be better in 2026. It's election year, stadium's opening, our financial situation will be solved. Welcome, Erling Haaland. But what's the reality of the situation right now? Because I'll give you both sides. Number one, I can see concerns at Man City, because there are 2 different reasons for that. Number one, FFP problems. And that is interesting for a club like City. But they are under investigation, don't forget, for over 100 100 charges with the Premier League there that is still going on. That is still being investigated. That's still going through the courts right now. And there is no denying there is concern there on the side of City. What could happen to them if they were found guilty to any one of those charges? It may spell problems for them. And of course, number two, Pep Guardiola. He is key to their project. He is key there to players going there, wanting to play for Man City, them being one of the most successful teams around right now. Pep is key, and he won't be there forever. Will he still be there in 2026? The problem, though, in my opinion, for Barca is that say we even could afford Haaland. Say in 2026, we had financially recovered. We were getting money coming in then from the new stadium. Things are looking good. Our revenues were booming. New kit manufacturer, new kit deal. All things are looking good. But say we could afford it, that still doesn't necessarily mean that we should go out and just splash the cash. I don't think here that Barca want to be going out and rushing things and rushing into huge, huge deals. And the question for me would be all about wages. That's the most important thing at Barca right now, because it's not really about the transfer fee. You can spread the cost over many years of the player's contract. We know all about that. But in terms of the wages, Haaland right now, near 1 million a week that he's on at Man City. Now, there's no denying at all he'd have to come here and earn less, because we are not going to be, even if we have the money, we're not going to be throwing it at players again. We're not going to be paying players 1 million a week and smashing our wage bracket to pieces. That cannot happen. But it seems to me as though Laporta, he wants to use the Haaland name. I don't deny that maybe he would be looking at Barca. I think he would move to Spain. I think he will leave Man City at some point, Erling Haaland. But is it going to be to us? Because obviously Lewandowski will have left the club by then. You would certainly imagine Barca will need a number 9 to come in and fill that void. But do not forget as well, guys, we just signed Vitor Roque for 40 million euros. We've already made a big, big outlay there on an exciting young forward. So surely it depends on him. Surely it depends now on whether he can step into Lewandowski's shoes. Because if he does, well, you're not going to be going out and spending all of your money on a very different type of player too. Haaland is all about service. Haaland is all about being there in the right place at the right time, getting the balls into him, and he will finish. We all know that. But I think there's still big question marks right now surrounding Haaland, surrounding Barca. Will we be in the position to do it? Laporta would like us to believe so. We all want to believe that things will be better in the years to come. But we're still fighting with La Liga. We are still fighting every transfer window here, even to sign the smallest of players. So I think it is all a bit of a dream right now. It is all a bit getting excited, hoping, hypothetical situations. And I don't think we should rule anything out. But at the same time, it's a long time away. Let's see what happens. Let's try and focus as much as possible on the here and now, on this summer. Big decisions that need to be made. But I am really curious, guys. Make no mistake about that. What would you do? If it was possible to go and spend big money on a player, big cash there, wages, transfer fee, would you splash it all on Erling Haaland? Would you go out there, bring him in? Would he succeed at Barca? Would he be the kind of forward that we need at the club? And what is your takeaway here on Laporta's plans for election year? Could you ever see Erling Haaland in a Barca shirt? Do let me know all of your comments, all of your takeaways down below, and I will catch you soon with more news to discuss. More conversation to be had. Thank you indeed, guys, for watching every single video, every single day. I appreciate it, and I'll see you soon. But until next time, as always, Visca, El Barça.